What is going on, guys? Winner Kills here, and welcome back to another post-commentary feature match here in round 3. We've got Sky Strikers versus Paleo. Same Paleo player we had in the first round feature match. Wiz, as he goes by the best Paleo player I know, and probably one of the best Paleo players in the country, I would go to say. Just absolutely insane. Both these players really good players, to say the least. I think last year at YCS Niagara, they both did very well. Player on the right getting third, and I believe the player on the left getting at least top 16 or better. So a very interesting matchup, a very nice matchup that we got between two very good players, much better than myself, obviously. So going in with the Ray swinging for 15, that's going to go through. And swinging for 15 with Hayate here, now dumping a Sky Striker card to the graveyard. A pretty productive turn, I would say, though, for Paleozoic. Turn 1, resolving Lilith, the grab the Illinoides, obviously revealing 3, saving time, only revealing 1. Obviously, it's just going to reveal 3 and take the same card anyways, so there's no real choice in the matter. Engage now coming through, going to search a card, and obviously we can expect to see a Kagari coming in after this to grab Engage again. Although we might see something different. Who knows exactly, but it's probably going to Kagari. I think it's Kagari. Obviously, it would be Kagari at this point. Grabbing Shark Cannon off the Engage out of all the other targets, going for Shark Cannon here, interestingly enough. And then, of course, linking now into a Kagari scene. MST in hand as well. Very good card for Sky Strikers to be playing currently. It's good back row removal. Doesn't require discard. Helps get those spell counters into the grave. Or not spell counters, but just spells in general into the graveyard. And going to add back the Engage here, of course. And then going to play the Engage before moving any, any more forward here. Going to play that and search another Sky Striker card, adding the Jamming Waves. Saw him earlier dump the Afterburners to the graveyard, so probably trying to set up some back removal in some way, shape, or form. Going for the Illinoides, card he knew that was set off of the Lilith. So clearing that out of the way, and then going into Shizuku here, we'll probably see some end phase shenanigans with the Shizuku, having the Engage, Jamming Waves, and Afterburner engrave as targets, so we can grab anything that isn't those cards. Can of course go for the multi-roll here, and having, I believe, 1, 2, 3 copies of spells in the graveyard. So any monster that the Paleo player puts on the board will be dropped by 300 attack and defense points. I believe it's just 300 attack points. But going for Trap Trick here in the end phase, and the Heavy Storm Duster coming in very clutch here to remove a Shark Cannon as well as an Infinite Impermanence. Shark Cannon pretty good in the Paleo matchup, clearing those Ronins out of the graveyard, at least for a little while. So pretty strong card to have set up, basically a pseudo Called by the Grave that also allows you to take control of it, much like Widow Anchor, but only from the grave. Infinite Impermanence is good as well, because it has the double-edged sword effect where it can only negate a monster effect, but it can also stop any spell or trap that activates in the same column that it was played when set. So having, I believe, now 4 spells engraved, the Impermanence and Shark Cannon, lost to the Heavy Storm Duster. Was able to chain the Illinoides off of that, though, so it's pretty productive. One thing I also want to mention is that the Sky Strikers player, Matt, goes on a bit of a adventure this duel, so he continues to be sliding up towards the top of the screen. I later adjust the camera to sort of counteract that, but do apologize for that. These things do happen. So now going into Totally Awesome here, going into normal summon the Dupe Frog and going into Totally Awesome. It's a good card to get on board this early on. I believe everything being dropped by 400, or at least everything on the Paleo side of things, getting dropped by 400. Could have swung over the Ray or the Shizuku, but probably not wanting him to get easy access to Ray again next turn. So probably just going to pass as we see Standby Phase. Totally Awesome trying to activate. It's met with Ash Blossom. Getting that Swap Frog out probably was what he's going for, because if he gets that Swap Frog engine, his graveyard starts getting loaded with toads and frogs, and there's just tons of shenanigans he can do there. Link plays, going right up into Borreload, Boral Sword, and just putting tons of pressure on. And now going into Hayate here, swinging directly for 15, dumping Area 0 to the graveyard. Anytime Hayate, of course, battles, be able to send a Sky Striker card from deck to grave after during damage calculation, I believe. Now having quite a few spells engraved, now a few more so than last turn. Still has that copy of MST in hand. Waiting in the wakes for that. Setting one, potentially. Activating Area 0 now. Going to use the Area 0 on the Hayate. Not wanting to invest anything else on the field spell and trap-wise. It could be met with an Olenoides. It could be met with another Heavy Storm Duster. Plenty of back row removal on the side of Paleo there. And the Area 0 misses, unfortunately. No cards being grabbed there. Going to link into now another copy of Shizuku. And debating on what to go for here. We might see a multi-roll come down. We might not. Might just go straight to end phase and Shizuku, and looks like that's what's going to happen. Setting one card, end phase Shizuku going through. Might also see some end phase plays from the Paleo player. Adding the Hercules base from deck to hand. It's a good time to add that card at this point. Want to recycle that Kagari. Kagari very, very strong, and it does definitely hurt to have at one. Would love to just link into a Kagari right now and add that engage to keep the engine going. Also seeing an end phase trap trick. No surprise here, going for an Olenoides and summoning an Olenoides out of grave off of its own effect, banishing that other copy, and going to just immediately activate it. That MST does get hit and cannot activate as he thought he could because it was just set. These things happens though, but adding another counter or another spell to the grave in general, so that does kind of help him a little bit, putting that you know, weakening his monsters just a bit. Gets the summon swap in his standby phase, bounces it back, pitches again, dumps another card off the swap. So just getting a ton of resources in the grave. 2 Ronin, a dupe, I believe, and a swap in the graveyard already. Could see him very easily go for a game at this point, and there is Dynamiscus going to discard here, I believe, and banish the Shizuku. Discarding Compulse. He's going to negate the Ray effect with the Toad, not opting to take the card. Now linking here into a Mistar Boy, using a Ronin again. Or normal summoning now, I believe, off the swap. Adding it back off the Totally Awesome to get that extra normal summon to dump a Dupe Frog to the grave. So that's how that happened there. Ronin summoning itself out. So at this point, we easily have a Boral Sword plus Totally Awesome, going to link all those in a way into said Boral Sword. Ronin for dupe again, and dupe for Ronin. Going for the first Totally Awesome and overlaying into the second Totally Awesome, and that is game aplenty right there. Nothing the Sky Striker player can do to stop that. World Dino Wrestling being played first, and then the Area 0 going over top of it as we head into game 2 here. One thing I want to mention also, as looks like we might see an Area 0 here. Yep. One thing I want to mention is a quick shout out to our sponsor at Imperium Duelist. The mat on the right actually is from Imperium Duelist. If you're interested in picking up a mat like that or any other 2-player cloth playmats, amazing quality sleeves, effect sleeves or non-effect sleeves. It's up to you, personal preference. Also some amazing dice and calculator cases, things of that nature. If you want to check them out and support the channel, link to their website is found in the description below, as well as a discount code you can use to save 10% off your entire order. So yeah, evenly matched though coming down now. Obviously going battle phase and battle phase for evenly matched. Choosing to keep his one set card must be pretty important, perhaps an MST or some other card. I'm not entirely sure what it might be. Maybe a Hornet Drones, I'm not entirely sure. Gonna just draw and pass. Paleo checking the back row before proceeding into his turn. If there's anything he might want to try to take a shot at on his board, if it's worth it anyways. Drawing a card, setting it, passing to Striker. Striker draws a card, doesn't do anything, passes it back to Paleo, draws for turn, checking back row once again. 5 set back row. Could expect to see Trap Tricks, Dynamiscus, you know, Olenoides, Heavy Storm Duster, really just waiting now to make reactive plays. Waiting for the Sky Striker player to do something before he even bothers to try to do anything. There's no point. So Terraforming be played now. Looks like he finally drew into a card that he can make use of. Terraforming, of course, going for Area 0. So now, of course, will the Area 0 miss, or will it grab him the clutch engage that he's definitely looking for, or at least a Ray at this point, because that could lead him to an engage. Of course, Hayate dumping in the graveyard, then going to Kagari, but these 5-step back row might have things to say about that otherwise, so we're not entirely sure. He does have World Dino Wrestling in Graveyard still, which I believe allows it to banish it or something to search a Dino Wrestler, i.e. going for Pankratops, which is a very, very good card. Very nice side deck attack or main deck option for some Sky Striker players. It's a card that you can get to the graveyard by playing another field spell over it, i.e. Area 0, or just using goods to dump it to the graveyard, much like you would Metal Foes Fusion. To search Pankratops. End phase Illinoides being activated, or it seems like end phase Illinoides, hitting a new set because he's probably expecting an Area 0 play, or at least was anyway. Shark Cannon now being played, going for the only monster in the graveyard, which is Ash Blossom. Now Ash Blossom could come in clutch here as a good Area 0 target. Looks like the Sky Striker player was trying to bait some back row removal. He didn't even use the Area 0 yet, so we're still in main phase here. Area 0 still attempting resolve, attempting to clear the Ash Blossom. Setting a card, leaving it for a turn, setting another card, and playing Area 0, baiting out, trying to bait out some back row removal. Not going, of course, for the Area 0, but going for the cards that he would choose to destroy otherwise. Probably not expecting a Shark Cannon to go for the Ash, and then attempting to use that. To send off with the Area 0. Now, we'll see Trap Trick being played, banishing Dinomischus for Dinomischus, and summoning out Illinoides. It's going to banish, I believe, another card, or destroy another card, which is going to be the Area 0. Discarding what looks to be a Pankratops. MST hitting the graveyard as well. Some way, shape, or form. Still getting Ray, though, either way. But he still has a monster in his main monster zone, and that is that Ash Blossom, which now he has no way to get rid of because the Area 0 is no longer here. So still a pretty smart play by way of the Paleo player, but still making it work here, definitely for Sky Striker. Getting engaged back. Definitely want to do that. Swinging in for some damage. Kagari is boosted up by a little bit, though, having, I believe, 7 spells in grave after adding back that engage, so swinging in at 22. And then putting that Shizuku on board. Still 7 spells in grave, so dropping anything he puts on board by 700 attack is pretty relevant. No spells in his graveyard. Of course, all traps and 1 copy of Pankratops. You see the spells right there. I believe 7 copies in the graveyard here. End phase Shizuku going for engage. Of course, no engages in the graveyard anymore thanks to Kagari, so be able to add that card to his hand. Now proceeding to the end phase, but of course that Ash Blossom still sitting on his field. He's able to remove that Area 0. Infinite Impermanence being activated. Activating Illinoides engraved to hit that Ash Blossom. Separate chain link, new chain link here. Impermanence again on the Shizuku, going for the Dinomischus engraved. Now trying to get into Totally Awesome. Yeah, Totally Awesome here, going for that. Also has the Mannequin Cat as an option, I believe is another rank 2 that he's playing alongside his other Paleo Xyz. 7 spells in grave, dropping that Toad down to 1500 itself. So not much he can do there. Of course, he could attack the Ash Blossom, but again, why would you? You're turning off all those Sky Striker spells at the same time. Toad activating, trying to resolve here in standby phase. No Ash Blossom this time. The only Ash Blossom we see, of course, is on the field, and only if Ash Blossom was like Ghost Ogre, you could use that card from the field as well. That'd be a pretty interesting threat. But not going for Dupe Frog here, looks like. Maybe going for swap? Nope, going for dupe. Of course, if dupe hits the graveyard to be able to add a swap, most likely going for swap anyways. Probably playing 3 swap, 3 dupe, 3 Ronin. Trying to max out on those Toads. This is one of the most important parts of the entire engine, I would say. Now, perhaps thinking about going into a Link 2, but has multi-roll here, so it could definitely clear that Ash. And at the same time, making all of his Sky Striker spells spell speed 4, which means Toad will not have a say. But it looks like he might be negating the activation of multi-roll, and he's definitely going to take that and set that on his side of the field. I believe he forgets to add back off of his Totally Awesome, which is unfortunate, but I don't think at the end of the day will make too big of a difference. Although it definitely could, very easily could. Linking away the Ash and the Shizuku for Phoenix, having to discard one of those engages, but I believe still has another copy of engage in hand. Going to clear that strike, and he does use the strike. Might as well. Taking 15, dropping him down to 43. And then there's that copy of engage there. He'll definitely be getting a draw off of this as well. Plenty of spells in grave. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spells in the graveyard upon the activation and resolution of the engage. Going for that one of Hornet Drone. Still hasn't sought out that yet. Still no Widow Anchor in the grave either. Important to keep that in mind. Gonna get that fatty draw off that engage as well. And it looks like we might see the World Dino Wrestling come in clutch here to go search for Pankratops. Maybe, yes, maybe, no, not quite. Looks like he's going to go for it at this point. Gonna banish it to search a Dino Wrestler. Adding the Pankratops and, of course, special summoning it to the field now. Also, somehow the Hornet Drone's getting to the graveyard. Not quite sure how that got there, but going to run over the Dupe Frog nonetheless, and we'll add Swap Frog as a result, which is a very strong card to have. So, Hornet Drones being played, and then not being played, of course. Engage now in the graveyard instead. Yeah, I do apologize for that weird cut, though, there. I did have to make the cut because the tripod was bumped and it was like an earthquake going on, so I did have to cut that out. But engage being put to the graveyard instead, and the Hornet Drones being set. I think you sent the wrong card to the graveyard after engage resolved, and sent the card that he searched off engage instead of putting engage to the graveyard. So that's why that looked a little weird. So Pankratops using its effect to clear the swap before he can put it back to his hand. The effect will still go through, and the Paleo player, keep in mind, still has that set multi-roll on his side of the field. And notice the traveling mat here on the left side, like I said earlier, it slowly creeps its way up the screen. I didn't want to bother them as they were playing this match out to, you know, hey, fix your mat for the camera. Maybe next time I will, but if it gets bad, but I do apologize for that. Going into Hayate here with the token, of course, then swinging into that Paleo, dumping Afterburners to the graveyard, probably just trying to deck them at this point, and then going into a copy of Shizuku. End phase, maybe a Hercules base. Yep, going for Hercules base. I know it's a bit cut off there. I had to squish the overlays to the side a bit, but that is Hercules base going to his hand here in the end phase. Desperately needing to resolve that. A lot of monsters, a lot of Link monsters in the graveyard for him. A card like Link Bound or Signet Universe could come in very clutch right now to put that Kagari back into the extra deck. Two little tech cards, you know, that Sky Striker players have been experimenting with lately. I think Signet Universe being one of the better ones because it is a field spell. Easily searchable with Terraforming, as Link Bound is not. Although it seems better on paper. Linking into another Hayate, swinging directly for 15. Dropping Paleo down to 28. Slowly been chopping his life points down this duel, and Paleo's managed to really get nothing on board as far as life points are concerned, but life points really aren't the main focus of, you know, this Paleo deck. He's sort of waiting in the wake, because his graveyard is loaded with Swap Frogs and Ronins and Dupe Frogs, so all he needs is the right card, that needs to stop the right play, needs to draw into the right card, and he can pretty much just go for game. End phase Shizuku going for Widow Anchor now, finally going for Widow Anchor in the end phase, and can't take advantage of setting it back, the classic end phase Widow Anchor, your own Shizuku to set it back off multi-roll, because that multi-roll is currently sitting on the side of the Paleo player next to his deck in that far right zone. I know it's kind of blending in with the mat and those black sleeves. End phase Trap Trick. Could see a possible Heavy Storm Duster again, which could prove to be pretty rough again, clearing another back row. Sky Striker just trying to get a foothold here in this game. Shizuku, though, however, dropping the monsters on his side of the field by quite a bit at this point. Definitely below 1,500, so that's for sure. Heavy Storm Duster being set and activated immediately, I'm assuming, here in the end phase to meet that card. Widow Anchor being chained from hand in the end phase, and importantly enough, setting that Hercules base. Probably as a bluff, and it does go off, allowing him to recycle some key cards here. Looks like he's going for Engage, Kagari, and I was going for Eagle Booster. I was going to assume another Hayate. A Hayate probably a good card to put back into the extra deck at this point. It's a very good card for the engine right now. Hasn't summoned a single Kaina, though, this entire game, interestingly enough. Not that it's been needed, but no Kaina been summoned at this point. So still having a Dynamiscus on field, which could prove to be deadly because he does have tons and tons of resources in his graveyard to work with. His graveyard is basically a second hand at this point. Now reading Shizuku, because I believe he wanted to check if Shizuku drops based on the spells in all graveyards or if it is just the controller's graveyard of the spells that they have. So we'll see dupe for Ronin. Perusing through the extra deck now, totally awesome, of course, is always a good choice, but Mannequin Cat also piquing interest right here. The Mannequin Cat has an interesting effect where it allows you to attach to reborn a monster out of your opponent's graveyard, and then if a monster is special summoned to your opponent's field while it's in the field, you can also activate another effect to target a monster your opponent controls and special summon one monster from your deck with the same attribute as that monster, I believe. So Mannequin Cat about to make an appearance, I believe, here. See it on the top of his extra deck there. So Mannequin Cat going for the Mannequin Cat, maybe going for the Toad, maybe going for the other Paleo Link or Exceeds. Definitely thinking about it. The Opabinia, I believe, not the Anomalocaris. I don't think I even see an Anomalocaris in there. But going for Mannequin Cat. An interesting line of play here, to say the least. Detaching Dynamiscus, putting that back to the graveyard, importantly enough, so we'll be able to use later. Checking his graveyard now. What does he want to reborn? Nightmare Phoenix looking like a good option. I'm adjusting the camera as well to try to fit the rest of the Sky Striker's mat on screen. So yeah, reborning Nightmare Phoenix, and then using its effect to target Shizuku to summon Swap Frog from deck, and then dumping Ronin to the graveyard, and then bouncing Swap back to hand to dump the dupe from his hand to the grave, dumping another Swap Frog at the same time. His graveyard even more so loaded now than it was before. Plenty of cards to work with in there. And then looks like he'll probably link off here. Probably just trying to OTK at this point. We'll see swap for Ronin. Linking Ronin and Mannequin Cat now into... Can't go into Mistar Boy, but going for Security Dragon, and that conveniently placed, well thought out summon of that Nightmare Phoenix will make it co-linked, allowing to use this effect to bounce that Nightmare Phoenix back to the hand. We'll see dupe for Ronin now. Getting close. A Link 4 is easily made at this point. Borreload or Boral Sword. Also has Abramax in the extra deck as well, but Abramax not looking too enticing anyways. Link 4 being made with the Security Dragon, the Ronin, and the swap. Going for Boral Sword. Not quite Boral Sword. Perhaps Boral Sword. Nope, not Boral Sword. Going for Borreload. Borreload being a much better target here because it allows him to take control of that Shizuku, because he definitely cannot OTK right now through Boral Sword with Ray, and Ray tagging out, because he could easily go into Kaina. So going now into Borreload to steal the Shizuku, swinging in for 15 and 22. And since the Paleo player does not have any spells in his graveyard, no damage or attack manipulation being made on his side, Toad negates the Rhoda, preventing him from get to Ray, adding back the Ronin this time, and then using the Pankratops to run over the Shizuku, and I believe take 600 because he did use Borreload's effect to drop the Pankratops by 500 permanently. Pankratops clearing the Rhoda to get it back into his graveyard, passing it back to Paleo. I believe has a swap in hand as well. He might have added back, as well as another Paleo trap in hand, swinging for 3k. Sky Striker player going to concede at that point, the Borreload proving to be too much, and basically top decking at that point. Not too much that could save him, to be totally honest. So yeah, that is going to be it. I hope you guys enjoyed, and honestly, even a top decked Widow Anchor would not prove to be game, because he would swing for 3k, he would activate the trap, summoning out another Paleo to block the damage. Yeah, I would believe that would proceed to just end phase. Borload would return back, and that would be game. So, yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this exciting feature match between these two very good players. Yeah, that mannequin cat play was actually pretty insane. Definitely a really solid card for Paleo, if you ask me. Being able to, especially against Sky Striker, being able to summon out that Swap Frog directly from your deck by reborning that Phoenix to be co-linked with a Security Dragon. Absolutely a great play there. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like if you did, and join Discord as well. All that good stuff. And yeah, as always, Winter Kill signing out, guys. We'll see you in the next one.